Hello everyone, welcome back to Horror House after our short break. Only one episode, I know, but still, it was a break, and I would like to welcome you to episode 7, where we are talking folk horror today, or horror based around folklore, and we have one half of Odd Shaped Panel on today, the other half has already been on herself. Today we have Tom Bennis.
Nice. Hello,
Round of
everyone. Thanks for
applause.
having me. How's it going, Morgan? It's good to be on. I've been waiting diligently.
Well, yeah, it's going well. I'm glad you are excited to be on anyway, because that makes it all better.
Yeah, it's nice to take a break from your own stuff sometimes and work on some other people's.
Oh yeah,
Just a little refresher.
yeah,
I gotta get back into the editing done after this. So
no, that's always fun.
yeah, yeah. But it's what we live for. We love pleasing the people.
Yep.
We have a great group. You know what I mean? So like it's nice to always collaborate.
Oh yeah.
But I'm excited. I don't know if you know how much of a folklore buff I am. So
I don't actually. I was surprised because when I asked you to be on this week's episode, you came back immediately, like the quickest out of anyone yet, with a topic. You just said, like, yeah, we're doing folklore. And I was like, right, okay, you must really know your stuff with folklore. So I'm excited to see what you have to say.
I do not have a PhD or a doctorate in any way, but I read a lot of Wikipedia. So if Wikipedia is right,
Well, we'll see, won't we?
vampires eat bones, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's what they
that's
do.
yeah,
All right. I just want to make sure.
yeah, definitely.
So I mean, there is a lot to start from. I don't know.
There is. It's not. If you, we've got to really start, and like I say, folklore was chosen by Tom. You know, he's more of the expert on this than I am. That's why I have the guests choose their own topics, because I think that'll be more fun. It's more fun for the guests to know what they're talking about than for me. But actually, I forgot a stage. Actually, because we've been on this break and I'm all out of sync. Tom, I would like to dedicate a small amount at the start to you telling us what your favourite horror film, if you do have one, is.
All right. Damn. Put on the spot.
It's
All
not
right.
an easy
So
question.
I it can't be anything too recent because unfortunately, and we're gonna get into that. Like back when there was this was like the only source material to pull from, or like old fairy tales and old folk
Yeah,
tales and stuff like that. So when you had like the 1922 Nosferatu, that was straight
yeah,
out of like the people's who are still scared of that. And the
yeah,
one thing that's really interesting is that every culture has boogeyman stories.
yeah,
Every culture has stories to make their kids scared and they'll learn lessons and like like as like a compass on how to survive in life.
yeah.
And they do it through horrifying tales.
I
So
mean,
that's why I think it's like going right to the source.
yeah. I mean that
Um,
stuff like that can go back to mythological times and those sort of
for
stories. You know,
sure.
the Greeks and all that.
And if I'm gonna stick to the guns of this topic,
Okay.
I know I just said it can't be anything too recent, but I spoke too soon because Krampus was so good.
I will get death stares from you and Kimber right now. I still haven't watched it, and I remember Kimber telling me to go and watch it on episode 4 when she was on, and I still haven't. And I do apologise to the world.
Uh, I think you'll be forgiven. It should be seen. If your audience has not seen it, I recommend it. It may look like a satire, like maybe we don't know what we're talking about because it's like an American tale or American twist on a German folklore.
Yeah,
Krampus having German origins. first off, some of the most beautiful German I've ever heard in a movie was spoken by the grandmother in
Right.
this movie. She was, I have Kimber next to me, so I might refer to her for one thing real quick. Was her German pretty spot on?
Yeah, she spoke beautiful German.
Yeah. So I think it's respectful as far as his folklore, but at the same time, it's fun and the practical effects. I can talk about it for days. They're
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
So that's what if you want to get a compass for what I'm into, practical effects,
Yeah.
nods
Well.
to folklore, and respectful depictions. So I think Krampus might be the top one for me right now. I know I kind of made myself sound like a hypocrite because I started right off the bat saying there's no good movies, but
No, that's absolutely fair enough. We've had very different, from all the people I've asked that, very different answers, and Krampus certainly one of not something I'd necessarily, but I've never seen it. Not something I'd necessarily look to as a sort of favourite horror film, but you know, you being so big on folklore, clearly it had that impression.
there's a lot that can't be said either because I don't like spoiling things. So
Yeah.
that's another reason why I want you to watch it so I can talk to you about it.
Okay. Well, that can be on your next
If I have to
episode.
buy a DVD and send it to you, I will.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend doing that. That'd cost you a lot of money
Yes,
to send it over
it
it.
would cost you a lot of. It would grant you a lot of happiness. That movie's so good.
Anyway,
the episode's not about Krampus.
no, it isn't. As much as you might like it to be, the episode is not about Krampus. So, okay, let's get into it. Folklore. I think the only real place we can start with this sort of stuff is vampires.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Nosferatu, I think, was one of the first
Yeah.
major horror movies.
Yeah, 1922, I mean.
Yeah.
Start.
And I would tell you the director's name, but I'm afraid I would mispronounce the last name. And it's F.W.
Murnau.
Murnau.
Yeah.
That's close.
You were. But yeah, go for it.
Yeah, in that respect, I mean, that's where we get our like, vampires with the shadows, the ones who are kind of afraid to surface, because,
Yeah.
I mean, we see in Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves that, you know, there are charms and ways to hide that, but back in that day, like, they just stuck to the shadows. There's even I don't know how big you are in gaming, but I love supernatural tabletop games, and there's one called White Wolf, and there's a whole class of specific vampires dedicated. They're called Nosferatu because they are these twisted, horrible versions that have to like live in sewers and blah blah blah.
Well, that's what's so fascinating about.
I love the romantic twist also.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I mean, Interview with the Vampire, I feel, is the best romantic gothic.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with you on that. I don't think. Yeah, romantic vampires, you know, people get that horrible image of, should we say it under our breaths, Twilight.
I'll say it, Twilight?
Yeah. And,
from a folklore standpoint?
No.
No, they are fays. They are more related to fairies than they are vampires based on characteristics.
Definitely.
The writer herself did no research on vampires.
No, I remember seeing that.
So, like, that is an abomination and a half.
And it shouldn't be talked about on this podcast. So let's move on. Yeah, but anyway, Nosferatu, it's always been one that's fascinated me because we're used to seeing vampires on screen as, you know, very, you know, aristocratic people, suave people, you know, your typical, even going to Gary Oldman, you've got Lugosi and Christopher Lee and everyone else. But yeah, Nosferatu, Max Schreck as Nosferatu is basically a human rat. He's just all sort of, his fingers are like 3 feet long and all twisted, and he's nose, everything is just that. And I read something somewhere that Nosferatu was created that way to reflect German fears of rat infestation following World War One.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like this is a way in which horror of the time reflects, society's actual fears, and that is something that's always fascinated me.
Oh, I mean, I would love to talk to you about this theory that, okay, so both of our civilizations have gone through horrors in the way they've come up.
Yeah.
England with the Industrial Revolution and
Yeah.
The poor quality and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and with America taking land from Native Americans,
Mm-hmm.
which is why most American horror films are set in a wild,
Yeah.
wooded
Yeah.
area, while most London ones, or I'm sorry, British ones, are done in an urban environment.
Yeah, usually London. Fair, you'd be forgiven for thinking that. It's nearly always London.
The same can be said for ours, but it's just very interesting on how. I think this was a Cracked video. I think it was an After Hours video.
Okay.
If you're not familiar, com does a lot of these weird theories. But it's really interesting to look at our history and how it's been affecting films throughout the ages.
Oh yeah, it's especially with this genre. I think this genre just works
Sure.
as a sort of reflective genre better than pretty much all others, because what's more personal to people than fears? And how do you put that on screen with horror? That is why horror is a thing.
Thinking about your explanation of Nosferatu and how it's kind of like this depiction of like fears and stuff, it kind of reminds me of Vincent Price in The Last Man on Earth.
Yes.
And how he's like being the only one left is like, what is he the monster, like, comparatively, you know what I mean? And that's another interesting way to do it, is to question humanity while having monsters present.
Yeah.
Definitely a better depiction than I Am Legend.
Oh yeah. Anything Price does. I mean, I will stand by I Am Legend as a decent film.
Yeah.
But you have, and Will Smith, perfectly fine. Gotta love him in everything because he's Will Smith. But he ain't no Price.
No, and I mean, while it was more of a character study on both Vincent Price's and Will Smith's characters, respectively, at least The Last Man on Earth had, like, me and Kimber talk about this all the time. She doesn't like undead things if like they don't have reason, like they don't have characteristics about them. Like,
Yeah.
Like the walkers on Game of Thrones. In the books, they have a culture, they have a language, they have all of this, but in the show, that's not depicted, so she doesn't care.
Right.
And I kind of feel that same way about I Am Legend, is that I don't like these mass bodies, and like, yes, they are capable of some emotion.
Yeah.
But that's nothing compared to The Last Man on Earth, where it's actually another society.
Yeah. I got to agree with you there. I mean, you give, I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm just going to say I agree. My head's all in a spin.
I think of some other vampire ones. I mean, some other recent ones that, you have to talk about Let the Right One In.
Oh, of course.
Talk about a true depiction to folklore. Like, that is, like, the cat's hissing is straight out of Fables. Like, and it was shot beautifully.
Yeah,
I gotta.
It's a beautiful film.
Yeah, and there's something about it, like, I've grown up reading subtitles because I watch a lot of anime and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like watching it in another language, which that's why I'm not bagging on Let Me In. I think they tried to do something for American audiences and it worked. But it was missing its heart, and I felt like the language, the way that the softness that they spoke to each other in that movie,
Yeah.
while all these brutal things were
Yeah.
happening around them, it's just so beautiful. That's better love story than Twilight, for sure.
Oh,
Stop
yeah.
bringing it up.
Oh, yeah. And those kids are what, like 10, 11?
12?
12 something?
I think they're 12.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's interesting you say that about the language being beautiful. When I watch foreign language horrors, usually they, give me a way more otherworldly impression. And that's clearly because I don't understand the language. But horror should feel otherworldly in some instances, I think. And when you get foreign language horror, I think that just works better because of the foreign language.
It almost gives it like a magical element.
Yeah.
Like you're reading you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, I didn't mind 30 Days of Night. I like that the fact that like these vampires have their own language, and I feel like vampires would try to take advantage of 30 Days of Night, even if it's a small town of Alaska. It's like we get to do whatever we want for a month. Cool.
Okay. Well, you want to talk about vampires within a society? You want What We Do in the Shadows?
Oh yeah, no, that's amazing. See, here's the thing.
That's what you want. Go on.
I may have gotten a note from a side stating that Bela Lugosi didn't speak English, and that's why his Dracula made him feel otherworldly.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah, you need that accent. You need that weirdness.
Yeah, as handsome as Christopher Lee was, and don't get me wrong, I would never badmouth Christopher Lee, he didn't have that language mystique. You know what I mean? Like, there is a certain thing, and it states a lot about, like, just attention to detail, too. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of things I respect in horror. Like, I don't... Jump scares, you can waste your time. I don't want to pay $14 to sit in a haunted house thrown by my high school. You know what I mean? Like...
Yeah.
But as far... Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows, man, it's...
You talk about vampire films, that is...
It's really important, and it has everybody. It has the Nosferatu. It has the more... You know what I mean? And it makes sense because the older one's a Nosferatu.
Yeah.
That would totally make sense. I could see Jermaine in 5,000 years looking like that Nosferatu dude. Like... And it was... I mean, it is like the comedy aspects of it overweigh the horror aspects of it.
Yeah.
But it is more true to the depiction of vampires and their origins than most things on screen.
Yeah. You get the really sort of good expositional, opening 10-15 minutes or so where it's clearly played out who each of these characters are, what era they are from, and it's just really, yeah.
And what's really cool about it too is that it shows like they retain some aspects of humanity. Like they don't lose their personalities. Like
no.
I can totally see Swearwolves dude. I can't never remember his name. Reese Darby.
Kimber's coming in with a trivia.
Scratch. You know what I mean? Like, and I can't wait for that spin-off movie they're doing with the werewolves.
Are they doing a spin-off?
Really?
I haven't heard about that. Are they doing a Swearwolves spin-off?
Yes.
Oh.
I don't think it's called Swearwolves.
It needs to be called Swearwolves.
Oh no, Werewolves. It's called.
We Are Wolves, like that.
Yeah, with the.
Okay. Nah, okay, fair enough.
But I mean, speaking of werewolves,
werewolves are huge in folklore, especially European.
Yeah.
Everything, most of these things, your vampires and your werewolves are both really European things. Not even necessarily English.
I mean, there are Filipino vampires, the Answak, that are like terrifying. Like there are people who live in the Philippines who are still afraid of these things.
Right.
Africa has many different like metal tooth vampires.
Oh, Africa can have its, yeah.
Vampires, it's weird because like there are certain creatures that pop up everywhere. Like regardless of werewolves are still shape changers, and I would class werewolves as a shape changer. In India, there are were-tigers. There are. I mean, it's an idea that spreads the globe.
Oh yeah.
Even Native Americans had skin changers.
Right. I'm not too familiar with Native American culture because I never learnt about it at school or anything because I'm not from the US. So go on, tell us all about Native American stuff. Oh, you don't know a lot about it?
No, I mean I've read, but in school we're taught about how they helped us on Thanksgiving, and then 5 years.
See,
later,
even we're taught that.
What's that?
Even we were taught that.
Yeah, no, and then in 10th grade of high school, we were told that we gave Indians smallpox blankets, and they're Native Americans. You should be calling them Native Americans. Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? That's when it started being these are real people with real issues.
That's pretty late.
Growing up, you didn't realize they were you cowboys and Indians were a thing of the past.
Yeah. Right. That's pretty late to be teaching that sort of stuff. You know.
Yeah. Well, they don't teach about the bad things usually. So.
No.
Yeah, our school system. You should see our maps. They are not accurate.
No. I've been to America a number of times. Do you have the US in the middle of the map? Like a world map?
Yeah.
Like on a wall?
It makes no sense.
You'd have America in the middle, whereas, that's weird. Because
we just gotta be reminded about how important we are,
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. It's just propaganda. While the public schooling system in America is a horror, I would like to talk about 2001's Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Okay, go for it.
Seen this?
I have not.
Oh man, it is well, it's interesting. I don't think they tie it much into this, but the French actually have a combination of a werewolf and a vampire. It's called the Garin or the Garu.
Right.
Which is a werewolf that will suck your blood, so that's interesting. But this is a werewolf story happening during the French Revolution.
Okay.
And it's happening, and there's these brothers who are on one side, and then this affliction happens, and this whole gets notoriety, attention. I don't want to get too much into it.
Yeah.
And it's a foreign film. It's in French, so I don't want to say anything wrong because I think my history is a little wrong on that. So
yeah,
it is as far as interesting stories with interesting settings. I really like it.
Yeah,
we don't see much. What else? I can't think of anything else from the French Revolution except Marie Antoinette and the Man in the Iron Mask.
There is a couple of weird British films that aren't even horror. So I don't know why I'm bringing. Yeah, I'm not even bringing. I don't know why I'm bringing these up on a horror podcast. But there are a few weird British films set in the French Revolution that mostly comedies. There's comedies set in the French Revolution. We have a very strange film industry. I'll just say that we have a very strange film industry.
I don't know, because I'm a fan of BBC. I know that much, but I can't tell you, Attack on the Block's the last known movie. Well, and Edgar Wright films, but I can't really name that many. I don't know if it's just because we're not exposed to it.
I think I'd say the last big one. It only came out last week. David Brent, Ricky Gervais off of the British Office. From
I know Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
I don't recognize the first name.
Off the Office. The British version.
Yeah.
His character, Ricky Gervais's character, got his own film, which did pretty well last week here. So that was a thing.
Yeah, I can, because I feel like there's a lot of character um, projects coming out of like that.
Oh.
You remind me of like shots for Baron Cohen with like his like
Yeah.
future projects. So that's cool. We don't get much of that out here.
That's a shame. We do have some good stuff. Not all of it seems to get through though. I don't know. You might you might end up with that in a couple of months. I don't know.
Well, this is why we go to the internet and find things that
Yeah.
the media doesn't tell us about, so we can be cool.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of more werewolf ones that I mean, there are always the classics: American Werewolf in London.
Yeah. American Werewolf
But
in
I don't
London
know how
is
much
my
they really
favourite
dive
werewolf
into the
film.
folklore in that. Like they're like, you're a werewolf.
No, but I have an interesting point to bring up about American Werewolf in London, and it's to do with sort of, British folklore. And because our horror here, it's like you said it was very sort of urban based, very city based, but you go back and it's very, very rural based stuff. Like the actual horror, like in American Werewolf in London, for example, it might be in London, but look where the attack happens. It happens on a hazy Yorkshire moor in the middle of the night where no one can see anything. They go to that pub, the Slaughtered Lamb. Everyone hates them because they're not one of them. That's what British folklore horror is. It takes people, it takes like people to quote unquote uncivilized areas, and that's where the horror happens.
It's interesting because I mean, it makes sense. Don't get me wrong. But I'm trying to think of some instances where that like the werewolf myth differs in any way, because I don't really think I've ever seen a werewolf bite anybody in a city. I think it's always in the woods.
Yeah, it'll always be
So I
out
don't know
there.
if that's more of a nod to the werewolf folklore or a nod to, but like it's definitely like the whole thing about horror is it wants to take you outside of your comfort zone.
Oh yeah.
So
you go to these weird places.
Being in a city, you don't want to be anywhere near a swampy bog. Sorry about the sirens.
Is there some sort of police chase?
Yes, they're after me. They think I'm trying to flee internationally. They don't understand how this works.
Go on.
I'm trying to think of some other good werewolf ones based on depiction, but I can't, and I think like ghosts are another one that like I don't know how into I want to get into it, because like Japan has a ghost literally every.
Yeah, you see all those weird things. Like Japan has that suicide forest.
Oh well, that's awesome.
And and all the abandoned places.
Japan. But yeah, no, Japan definitely has some interesting settings for it, and when I heard that they were doing a movie for that, I'm like, okay, cool. But I'm speaking more to the vein of like, Japan has an umbrella ghost. Japan also has a ghost, which is a woman who has two mouths. Like, there are very specific, and for like different reasons. Like the woman with two mouths is because someone talked behind her back and led to her death. That could be
right.
But like,
I just think Japan likes its ghosts.
Which leads movies to jump on their, like, they can take one ghost and run with it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like The Ring is a lot like that, where they just took one ghost concept and ran with it.
Yeah.
They played with the little kid meowed, because I think that is also a Japanese ghost.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just want to say Japanese horror as a whole is amazing how it uses its folklore as a resource.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you bring up The Ring. I think The Ring is probably, as in terms of modern, the Japanese horror to go to. For because
definitely an introductory.
Yeah, it's the perfect introduction to all that sort of weird stuff. But yeah, they love their ghosts. They love their little children ghosts. They love old women ghosts. They love
faceless monks.
faceless
they have
things.
everything.
Yeah, but
It's,
mentioning the ring also makes me think of stuff like, in the ring, the idea of the videotape is more of an it's more of an urban legend. Actually in the film, it seems more of a like, oh,
yeah,
if you watch this tape, you'll die. Are you brave enough to watch this tape? This has been going around for however long it's been going around for. It just that urban legend, I think, is an interesting bit of folklore because it's not necessarily traditional folklore in the sense of vampires, ghosts,
it's
werewolves,
modernized.
but it's stuff like that, and I think the US has its equivalent urban legend horror with Candyman.
Yes, I was gonna bring this up because obviously people are gonna say, well, Candyman's based on Bloody Mary,
Yeah,
and I agree with that, but I do not know of one good Bloody Mary movie.
no,
Like Candyman, like he personified that idea of like somebody told me this would happen if I did this.
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think we should. And it's classic in the boogeyman mythos. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
That's
Like,
exactly what it is. That's more of the urban legend idea than the traditional folklore. Candyman. Say his name 5 times and you'll die. Are we gonna do this? Are we brave enough to do this? Oh God, no, we're dead now.
and well, he's kind of an amalgamation of different urban legends because we also have like it's the urban legend where two teenagers are making out at at a makeout point or whatever,
Yeah,
and it's the man with the hook.
yeah,
That whole story. There's aspects of that.
yeah,
And then there's definitely nods to other bits. Like he has biblical roots. The whole bees, the thing with the bees in the
yeah,
flesh, that's straight out of Samson.
yeah,
When he saw a lion corpse and bees making honey out of flesh, like that's a straight up biblical reference. And I also think it's smart, is what it is, and we don't have many of those that we can kind of claim as our own.
no,
Unfortunately.
no. But I think that's a Candyman's a pretty good one to hold up there. As this is ours. This is our urban legend. Mashup.
But but keeping in the same respect as that, Freddy Krueger definitely has elements of
Yeah,
folklore.
he does.
Like there are fae who specifically have iron-clawed hands who invade dreams. Like they exist. So I don't know how much that translates. I mean, he definitely has incubus traits as well, especially regarding Nancy in the
Yeah.
child. But like I try to look for it, and sometimes I might be stretching, but Candyman is probably the best example of an American like adaptation.
Yeah.
Folklore, I would say.
Yeah, I think it is. That's why I wanted to just mention it in sort of half passing.
Well, I had it on my list.
Oh well, great. Okay, I think right about now is probably the halfway point. So let's dedicate a couple of minutes to a few plugs. Tom, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. Well, my name's Tom Bennis. I do a show with my girlfriend, my partner Kimber. She is a geek, probably twice as much as me, and I mean that in a good way. If you haven't heard her episode of HorrorHouse podcast, you should probably think it's episode 4.
It is episode 4.
Go back and check that out. But you can check out Odd Shaped Panel, which is the name of our show. We discuss a different topic every other week right now, and we pretty much get together with some friends, talk for about 3 hours, and then I go and I edit it down for the TUFF Channel. We throw all of our edited content over there, and they are doing multiple shows right now. They're doing a show called Fan Friction, which is a movie/television debate show. If you're familiar with Screen Junkies, it's pretty much an homage to Screen Junkies movie fights, TV fights. There's there's also, because fan fiction was kind of a response and a review at the same time to movies that Ashley and Joseph have watched because of fan fiction, as the name states. And Brian has DVD Bunker, and I believe Brian was on another episode.
He was on the last episode.
Oh, great. Well, that's the TUFF family right there. And you can find us on YouTube, and definitely talk to us on Twitter at OddShapedPanel or at TUFF Channel.
Yeah, and Tom is actually fighting on fan fiction on Sunday. So you'll be able to check that out after you check this out, which will be out on Sunday, but early enough so that you can go to check fan fiction out after it. Tom is fighting... Who are you fighting, Tom?
I'm fighting Raul, which is going to be... I just don't know how to get through that cute barrier, you know what I mean? Because Raul's a sweetheart.
Raul is the biggest sweetheart I've ever met.
And I have to fight Hector Navarro.
Which...
for anyone not
the return of Hector Navarro.
Yes, I've been waiting for this, but he is... We jokingly called him the hardest working man on the internet, but the more and more I look at all of the stuff he's putting out, the more and more it sounds true.
Yeah, it's pretty true.
Yeah, he also did visual work on some of the Shrek movies, The Green Hornet, and something else more recent, but I can't remember.
Yeah, Hector is...
definitely is a blessing to have on this show, because he definitely knows his stuff, and he's a huge comic buff.
He is.
What I'm excited to fight against him about. So.
Yeah, I mean, that should be a great fight, and yeah, I can't wait to watch that one. So anyway, there's Tom's plugs. Here's mine. If you do like this podcast, if you are enjoying this episode, please like and share it and subscribe to this YouTube channel. You'll be the first to know when any new episodes come out, or further weird videos that might come out. I still don't know. Or you can follow the podcast on Twitter, and that is at HorrorHouse Pod. You can follow me on Twitter at the Purple Don, or you can go to thepurpledon.com, which is sort of the home of all my weird rambly things that people may or may not want to read or listen to. So you can do that. Yay. Okay, let's get back into it.
Alright.
Right.
Game face
back on. Should we go? I think I've got the biggest section of my list that I've got in front of me now is witches.
Yeah.
Because it's so huge in Britain, or it was, that, and I'm just more familiar with that above pretty much all other types of folk horror. So
witches is weird, because while I do I acknowledge that some people currently practice it in some shape or form. It's how much of it is like based on just bad mouthing? You know what I mean?
Well,
which
yeah.
is cool, because that's a way for something to get its origins. Like, I'm sure one myth is a way to comment on another society. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's weird, because there's not, well, at least what I know mostly, because in America the biggest witch thing we hear about is the Salem witch trials. Which we didn't burn anybody, which is a common misconception a lot of people have.
But that was the Salem witch trials. They were just like lie after lie after lie after lie after lie.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from. Where it's kind of like witches are kind of hard for me to get into as a folklore, because a lot of it's just like mean girls.
Okay.
Peasants, you know what I mean?
Okay, I get you.
But I'm really curious to know how, because I mean, witches are something cemented in like Shakespearean plays, and like they have existed throughout, but because of my teaching, and I've been to Salem, and it's unfortunate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whenever I watch something that has witches in it, that's like kind of always in the back of my mind,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always going to enjoy Hocus Pocus, but at the same
Oh,
time,
well,
I
yeah, of
understand
course. You have to enjoy Hocus Pocus. Every Halloween, Hocus Pocus goes on. Yeah, but
But you know what?
witches
I'll
for
tell you
me.
something. I was in Salem during Halloween. Weakest
Oh,
Halloween parade I've been to. Weakest Halloween parade
really?
I've ever been to. Yeah,
Wow.
it was garbage.
That's
Like
disappointing.
I was so disappointed.
That's that
But
that. Oh,
but at the same time,
that's
should
put
I
a
be
downer on
should I be
things.
excited? So, but as far as witches go,
See,
uh,
witches for me, like I know you said, there are people that identify currently as witches, but these are not the people we're talking about. We're talking about witches in the sort of old sense of what people thought witches were, and that is
Swamp Hat.
basically Satan worshippers. That's what
And
people
we know
thought witches
people
were.
currently worship Satan, but we're not saying.
No, we're
anything
not saying
bad
that
about
either. Oh God, what's going on?
Oh man, can't talk about anything.
Right. No, we're not in modern times anymore. We're in 16th century Britain.
Well, since it's coming up, how do you feel about this Blair Witch Project remake? Or sequel? I don't
I've
even know
never
either.
been a huge fan of Blair Witch.
Really?
Yeah, it's found footage. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I appreciate Blair Witch for what it did for horror. I appreciate that it started the found footage genre, which worked in a couple of occasions, and Blair Witch is one of them. Wreck is probably the other one. But this new Blair Witch, I enjoyed the fact that at Comic-Con it was announced that it was going to be a Blair Witch film when no one thought it was, people just thought it was just a random film. So I enjoyed that. That was cool. But I won't be rushing to see it.
No, I won't be either. That would be an interesting topic for another day's found footage movies. There are some that definitely serve a purpose.
It would be, because I think it'd arguably be my most cynical episode.
Well, there's things that start genres, and then there's things that exploit them.
Yeah. There's far too much exploitation with found footage. For me.
Yeah.
In my
I
opinion.
agree with you, but there are some, like Diary of the Dead is a really good found footage zombie movie. And it makes sense because like it's a character study at the same time, because you never see the character behind the camera, and you figure out like he's just watching it with us so he can separate himself from what's going on. You know what I mean? That's his defense mechanism, is by being behind a camera. He's not there. So like, it makes sense and it adds to it. But then there's like, and people are gonna hate me for this, but Cloverfield.
Yeah.
It was, you could have just put it on a top and spun the camera and it would have had the same effect. Like.
Yeah, Cloverfield.
And I'm a huge fan. I'm a fan of big monster movies.
Oh yeah.
I grew up on Godzilla.
Yeah. Yeah, Cloverfield doesn't quite do it for me either, though.
Okay.
I'm quite similar in that sense. It doesn't quite do it for me. But anyway, witches.
Yes.
16th century witches, not now today witches. 16th century witches that people like Matthew Hopkins hunted. Matthew Hopkins, aka Vincent Price, in Witchfinder General, which is a great film. If you've seen,
he looks so dapper in that.
It is incredible. I've never seen a film in which Price is so horrible. He's usually just nice and fun and funny and charming, but he's just awful in Witchfinder General. Not awful as in the performance, but as a character. This guy just went around just going, yeah, witch, burn, 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 drown, burn, drown. And it's just like, it's bizarre to watch because you're used to seeing Price in this. And this is Witchfinder General. It was like 1969, I think, something like that. It was a pretty low budget British thing. It's a brutal thing. It is a brutal movie, as most from around that time are. Most of these sort of weird British late 60s, early 70s are surprisingly explicit. But Witchfinder General is Vincent Price, arguably Vincent Price's best performance, but certainly his performance is that is the most different from all his others.
Yeah, actually, I haven't seen it, but while I was researching, it did come up, and Kimber was telling me about it. So
Yeah.
I think she had it apparently, so I might watch that later.
Oh yeah. I was gonna watch it. I was gonna watch it last night actually, but I didn't. I don't know why. I was gonna watch it in preparation for this, of course. But yeah, I think Witchfinder General is just the perfect sort of representation of English fear of witches in the 16th century. Because, you know, we didn't know any better 500 years ago, and we thought any woman was a witch who someone told us was a witch. And then Matthew Hopkins, famed witch hunter, would come to your little town in the middle of Surrey and kill everyone.
Sounds pretty brutal.
No, it is. It's surprisingly brutal for the time.
I don't know if many people know this, but werewolves were persecuted just as much as witches during these times. People were accused of being werewolves and burned at the stake and drowned and stuff like this.
See, I didn't know this about werewolves.
Yes, and a lot of it's attributed to mold that grew on rye.
Right.
And this mold would give hallucinogenic effects.
Okay.
So people would act like animals because they were tripping off of this moldy rye.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where lycanthrope comes from.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this like when bath salts apparently turn you into zombies?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure 50 years from now we'll all hear about how zombies were showing up.
Yeah.
We put them out quick. Bath salts, oh my god, you have to be an idiot. Sorry to insult anyone who's smoking bath salts or eating them, but sorry, Florida.
Well, if you want to become a zombie, it's the best way to go.
Yeah, and I mean, see, that's one where the myth has changed, is the zombie. Because before Romero, we saw very different zombies.
Yeah, we saw...
White zombie?
Yeah, it was voodoo.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of it's because of fear of what we don't understand,
yeah,
and how things will work. But they do practice things like that. It's like a mix between like blowfish and a certain herbal plant and stuff like this, and they actually do have the powder to do this. I don't know about the power, but yeah, that's just changed throughout the years. And like you were saying before, with vampires, it's definitely a comment on what's going on. Around us.
Yeah.
Especially for Americans, I think, because we're capitalists through and through.
Yeah, I mean that's what Romero did so well, was make those comments on, US culture with his modern, quote unquote modern zombie films, as opposed to the weird voodoo ones of the 30s and 40s.
Now, I was wondering, do you have or know of any local myths or British myths that have been depicted on film that have been done well?
British myths?
Because my example would be Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. I don't think it was...
Yeah.
I definitely think it was interesting. My biggest problem with it is Ichabod Crane. But I feel like that might be one of the best known folk tales.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah. I'm thinking, I'm struggling to think, to be honest, of any. Maybe it's just because I'm seriously lacking on my British myth knowledge.
I mentioned Spring-Heeled Jack when I was messaging you. Do you know what that is?
I no. I'm sorry. I am
Spring
sorry.
Heel Jack is a trickster, like, boogeyman
Right.
who like there were like police sightings of and stuff back in like the 1800s, I believe. I think I'm getting my century correct.
Right.
In London.
Right.
There was this devilish looking guy who would be able to jump really high, and there was accounts of him everywhere.
I've never even heard of that. Why have I never heard of that?
You should look it up. It's interesting. I like it.
I should.
I make a superhero based on that, but it wasn't that clever. apparently there are already heroes who can leap high places in single bounds.
Yeah.
But that also reminds me of we have something in America called the Mothman.
See, I'm lost again. See, this is where my true lacking of knowledge of this whole topic.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault, really, because we have, and not just America, a lot of places have these cool cryptids and like folk monsters, but Loch Ness Monster, we got Water Horse. You know what I mean? You're gonna get like fun things from
Yeah.
that. We have not gotten a good horror. And I'm not saying it hasn't been done, because there is a Chupacabra and it's horrible. There is an Onswag and it's horrible. A lot of these star Billy Zane and it's horrible. If you were well, here's the thing. So this Mothman.
Yeah.
He was more seen as a harbinger. There was he was seen. There's a lot of sightings of him around this one area. I believe it's called Point Pleasant, Virginia.
Right.
I know Pleasant's in there. I'm not sure about Point. And there was a bridge. Well, there was all these sightings of him beforehand, and then this bridge collapsed. It was one of the biggest tragedies on the eastern seaboard because the bridge was full of cars. They're on their way to they're on their way to work and stuff like that. Collapsed. Mechanical failure, blah blah. So they were like, "Oh, this guy was warning us," you know. So there's a lot of strange things going on in this town at the same time. It is like an episode of Twin Peaks. I'm not kidding you.
Right.
There are Men in Black scene. There is a character named, or a person, well, we don't know if it's a person or not, named Ingrid Cold, which was this name that this guy kept giving everybody, but he had these weird features on his face. If you watched Fringe, apparently he looked like an observer.
Right.
But Mothman Prophecies is a movie starring Richard Gere.
Okay.
And it's directed by Mark Pellington. 2002. It is like a suspense while being in this setting. So, like, he's getting these weird phone calls. He's hearing about people seeing them. He may or may not have seen it himself.
Right.
But it's very interesting to see what it would have been like in a time where, like, mass hysteria was going on. Because a lot of these things happen because of mass hysteria, which is terrible.
Yeah.
All because of mass hysteria.
Yeah. I'm reminded now, after you've said all that you know that while what you've just said may sound like some sort of weird episode of Scooby-Doo, I'm reminded of a Scottish sort of folk thing, but like it actually happened, where there's this bridge in, I want to say Dundee. I think it's Dundee. I apologise to any Scottish people if it's not Dundee, but there is a bridge where, you know, tens, maybe hundreds of dogs jump off this bridge.
Yes.
I presume you've heard of that.
Yep.
But it's just like, and say if the dogs miraculously survive the first jump, they'll walk back up and jump back off. And there's some sort, I forget now what exactly it's supposed to be that makes these dogs do that. But, and I don't know if that's been sort of turned into some sort of film, but I think that could be interesting.
Well, I mean, if anything we've ever seen in a movie where animals are throwing their lives to the wind, it's because something's bad coming. So
yeah,
it definitely makes for a good horror film, whatever it is. I don't recall the name, but I could see that in 100 years being awful, you know. Like, it's interesting of seeing things that occur now. Like, when all the birds were dropping out of the sky for a little bit there.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
people thought it was the end times. Like,
Yeah.
and there's reasons for that. Is because that's what we've seen in film and
Yeah.
literature.
Yeah.
There are definitely some other ones I definitely think we should get to.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Babadook, which
The
was
Babadook. Go for it.
probably Australia's best movie I've ever seen. I don't know much
It's
about
probably
Australian,
it's probably Australia's best horror.
I mean I don't know enough to say that.
Well,
but
you've got Mad
definitely these
Max.
newcomers
You've got
right
Mad
here-
Max. That's Australian. It
Yeah,
ain't
well,
it
yeah,
ain't better
well,
than Mad Max.
maybe.
The Babadook is a weird one for me because I liked it. I saw it near enough when it came out. I've only seen it once, but I liked it. But my God, did I hate the performance of that child?
Yeah.
That
I can
ruined
see that.
it ruined the film for me, and I've never gone back to it
Luckily-
since.
Luckily, the mother is the focus of that. And it's
Yeah.
the hysteria that's really on trial. And really, you know what? If my mom was being crazy and wasn't attending to my needs, I'd probably be a whiny kid too.
Yeah, but
There's not-
oh my God.
It's kind of hard to say what you would do in that situation at that age. Like that could be a creative choice to make him that horrible.
Yeah.
It's like how they say no one likes Anakin in the prequels to Star Wars because he's
I
so
liked
whiny.
Anakin in the prequels better than that child.
Yeah, well,
Seriously.
people don't realize that he's pretty much doing an exact Mark Hamill impersonation from Mark Hamill in A New Hope because he was equally as
Yeah.
funny. So I feel like some people do things for reasons. I don't know if it'll ever pay off. And also, I mean, and for anyone who hasn't seen the Babadook, spoiler alert, cover your ears for 5 seconds maybe.
Spoiler.
Low kill count.
Yeah. Very.
Like, not did the dog even
I think that's
the dog? Yeah.
It's like one.
Which is weird because it's still like that was Kimber's one complaint, low kill count, but I still felt that it was more, and the ending was a little odd. Like I kind of want to see more, and maybe that was the whole point.
Yeah, I think.
But visually,
it
really
probably
cool,
was.
and talk about your boogeyman tales.
Yeah, it's a perfect boogeyman tale.
And talk about promoting literacy.
Yeah.
I'd be reading
Oh,
all
yeah.
the time if I had saw that movie and I was 8 years old.
But would you be reading? Would you be reading the Babadook?
Well, I hope not.
Right. Give it a go. See if anything happens. It's like Candyman. Give it a go. See if anything happens. Candyman.
Famous last words. Oh, Candyman.
Candyman.
Okay.
Give it a go.
Sorry, we just did our tabletop episode, so I'm thinking about Candyland.
Ah.
Um.
Have you never stood in front of a mirror and said Candyman 5 times?
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
See, it's just like that. Just get a copy of the Babadook book. I'm sure they sell it somewhere. Read that. See if anything happens.
I would only read it if it showed up on my doorstep.
Ah, that's a better idea.
Yeah.
I'll send it
I
to you.
feel like we're missing a big one by not mentioning Leprechaun.
Wow, Leprechaun. I hadn't even thought of that. But yeah, it's just perfect.
And see, Leprechaun, they made a fatal mistake in their franchise. They went to space before they went to the hood. And I felt like if they did it in the opposite direction, they worked their way up, it would have been a bit more successful franchise. But once anybody goes to space, you can't take them seriously anymore. It happened to Jason.
Yeah.
Dracula 3000, I think, was...
No to bizarre Leprechaun sequels.
But, I mean, as a whole, I feel like it took something that no one would think would be a horror. And
No, it did. It was successful. Otherwise, it wouldn't have had 14,000 sequels.
it launched Jennifer Aniston's career.
It
That
did?
was her first movie. Yep, that was her first movie.
Wow.
I would know.
Yeah. I don't know. Actually.
There's definitely some other... The Crow is definitely based on the Revenant myths.
Go on. Go with the crow.
Well, because a revenant is the body of someone who dies to
Yeah.
get revenge, and it will not stop until it gets that revenge. I don't know if it will stop to do guitar solos like it does in The Crow, but they are pretty relentless. And the whole idea of a crow carrying spirits between worlds is like from like primordial mythology. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
has been a staple in world culture.
Yeah.
Said word culture, but I meant world.
Yeah.
Both applied.
I think people understand.
And in the same vein, Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth is a yes. That is just a fairy tale.
I mean, it rings true to all of the Pan myths.
Yeah.
The depiction's a little creepier, but I mean, I'm sure people thought of much creepier things back in the day when it was founded. The idea.
Yeah.
There. Now, and I circle back. Like,
Oh.
That was me circling back.
Oh.
There's just so much potential like lying around in all these stories that haven't been told, and I'm so scared that we're gonna. Because like, not for nothing, you don't even know about Spring Heel Jack.
No.
Like, does that mean that no one will know about Spring Heel Jack like in 30 years? Like, I think it's really important that if
I don't know.
because back in the day, all we had was word of mouth. We had
Yeah.
tellings of stories. And then we got literacy, and then we're losing more and more books a day. You know what I mean? Everyone's going to digital, and I'm so scared that we're going to end up in this, like, no paper book society in the late future.
Yeah, I mean, it's not difficult, I think, to see that being the eventuality. Whether you like that or not.
Well, I don't like it, Morgan. It's
No,
scary. I like the smell of books.
No, see, I'm like that with DVDs, Blu-ray stuff like that. I refuse to do digital films. I need a hard copy held in my hand.
Morgan, you're talking to the guy who's dating a girl who has a Vincent Price VHS collection.
Perfect.
And Doctor Who. I definitely understand that. It's really important to get all these stories out there because they did serve a purpose at one point.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I would love a good New Jersey Devil movie.
New Jersey Devil is something I've heard of, but once again, I am not American, so I don't know it. That's why.
No one knows. There is this huge wooded area, and it said that there are a lot of buried bodies in that forest and stuff like that, but
right.
It's called the Pine Barrens.
Okay.
And it's supposedly haunted by this demonic creature who literally all he did wrong was he happened to be the 13th child born to this woman who said, "Oh, I hate my husband, let my 13th child be a devil," and then it was.
Right.
Like, and so it's just like kind of like this person who didn't. It's kind of like a Frankenstein story without like the idea of. You know what I mean? Where it's like they didn't do anything wrong. They're just products of people's mistakes. But now they serve a purpose. Like now they protect this area.
Right. That's interesting.
So it's like, or they protect a certain idea, like Babadook. Like,
yeah.
Hey, maybe that's feeling my vibe to being like, you're not gonna get any Babadooks from digital copies of books.
No, you're not.
I mean? And I'd be a lot more okay with it if if you bought a paperback, it came with a digital copy rather than.
Yeah. Rather than just buying a digital copy.
What happens when the cloud goes down, man? What happens on the books?
God, no. Then the world ends.
The book cloud. Stressing me out.
What we need is a great horror film, not even a good one, a great horror film about digital copies of books and films. Like The Ring did for videotapes. Like Babadook's done for books. We need that. But for digital downloads. And I have no idea how that would ever work. But that's what the world
I'm
needs.
getting like the Last Action Hero vibe. You ever see that? With
Yeah.
You know how they pull Dracula out and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Well, I'm picturing like a computer hooked up to like a robot assembly line, and then it starts like printing off like horrible people in fiction,
Yeah.
and then they rule through society.
We're making that happen. Let's make that happen.
I don't know, man. Skynet. It'll be a Terminator spinoff.
Yeah. Sky. I swear I saw.
This was fun.
I swear I saw a legitimate company called Skynet the other day.
No, I know there is.
I don't think I'd seen that before. I got scared. Anyway, is there anything else you would like to mention before we start wrapping this thing up? Any other films?
No, I think I covered everything there. Oh, all right. So, I know you said you weren't a big fan of found footage, but there is this movie called Troll Hunter.
Go on.
It's a Norwegian mockumentary.
Right. See, mockumentary, I'm fine with.
Yeah. See, as
I
long
can
as
do
it serves
that.
a purpose, So, I would say that this is one of the coolest revitalizations of a folklore I've seen. They pretty much go around the countryside and they're investigating these bear attacks.
Right.
And then they start realizing that like these footprints aren't right, blah blah blah. So they meet up with this poacher who they think is a poacher, and he's actually this troll hunter.
Right.
And so he takes them along, and like one of his first warnings is like, "Are any of you Christians?" Because they can smell Christian blood.
Oh, of course
which is, like,
they can.
A cool like nod to the original folklore.
Yeah.
And as the movie goes on, it's like a slow Cloverfield, and I mean that by like saying like there are events happening and the person is reacting.
Right.
And I say slow because it's not jerky movements.
Right.
While doing like a Shadows of the Colossus, that video game, or like it's like they just scale up bigger and bigger each time. So it's like this almost weird European kaiju movie. Like it's
okay. It sounds.
It's like they all have different
intriguing.
types. Like there's multiple species of and you're learning about the folklore, and these are all based on the actual like trolls that they thought existed back in the 1500s, like
right.
earlier.
That actually sounds.
Really
I am legitimately interested in that.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to dive into that kind of mythos in an urban setting, and make sense for why you would be able to know this, because trolls are, notoriously they keep to themselves. You know what I mean? Like, so like why would we know this? Oh, because someone found the footage. Which I'm still waiting for someone to actually find the footage to something all the time.
Yeah, that's never gonna happen.
What? What are you talking about?
No.
I saw Bigfoot footage.
Nah, it's like no. It's like the Loch Ness monster photos that were just like someone's shadow.
What? Well, hold on.
No,
The
it's
Loch
not.
Ness
No,
monster isn't real?
no, it's not real at all.
I just need a minute.
That's like
right.
telling me that Sasquatch is real.
He is.
No, he's not.
No, you have to understand. There's a reason why I really like mythology and stuff, is because I do think there is some things we don't
Now,
know.
I would love there to be.
Yeah.
I really would.
Sasquatch is transdimensional. He can move between dimensions.
I would love above all other weird creatures there might be on this planet. I hope Sasquatch is the one that actually exists.
One that every culture has one. Asia has the Yeti.
Yeah, but Sasquatch above the Yeti. Because the Yeti's big and snowy, and he just looks like a Wampa from Star Wars.
But we also have the skunk ape, which is the Florida Sasquatch, who just smells bad.
No one needs that.
America itself has like multiple versions of Bigfoot.
Really? I thought it just had the one.
No.
I'm so not knowledgeable.
Even I believe Ireland has its own Sasquatch.
Ireland has its own giant something. It might just be a giant. I don't know.
I think I'm mixing the things up because I've read one theory that giant in Ireland's supposed to be a Nephilim, and I've read another theory that Bigfoots are Nephilim, so I think I mixed the two. Nephilim being the child of children and angels.
Okay.
Yeah, if you ever want to get into biblical horror movies, that's one I like to do too. I'm not super religious, but I like lore in any scope, especially religious or mythological. The most science fiction lore there is Hindi mythology or religion. If you read the stories or tales or proverbs, I'm trying to say something without offending anybody. They are. It is crazy. It's pretty much a space opera. Like, it's awesome.
Right.
Like, I implore you, watch your horror movies, check out where the roots come from, read your mythology and your folklore, because you'll notice it in places that you wouldn't before.
I will say this, you have inspired me to look up more weird folklore throughout this last hour.
It's interesting. It's just, and there's, like I said, the biggest problem with the movie industry right now is we're seeing so many unnecessary remakes, and I say unnecessary because I have no problem with the remake if it serves a purpose.
Yeah.
Add something to what's already there. And all these like rehashed sequels when we have literally centuries old resource material that if we just found an original take and didn't try to. I'm not gonna make Hansel and Gretel witch hunters. Like, yeah, that's just you taking something and perverting it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm referring to? I don't know if that was the actual name of that movie.
Yeah, I think it was.
Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it because it's just
no one watched it.
There's just so much there, and another reason I really want to talk about this is because Cal on Audrey's panel has been bringing up. He wants to do mythology episode, and I would love to. But one of my favorite books is by Neil Gaiman. It's called American Gods.
Okay.
It's pretty much the idea of it is that before anybody colonized America, all that was there were like totemistic spirits because no one else practiced like god religions.
Yeah.
So when everybody moved in, they brought in their own versions of these gods, and now these gods are having to, deal with a new rise of a pantheon because people don't worship runestones anymore. People don't.
Right.
A lot of people don't even go to church anymore. What they do worship is the television, the media, and all these other things which are becoming like a new threat in the whole world of the gods. It is really interesting because it is like it's like walking a thin line between fact and fiction because you're set in a real scenario. You know what I mean? Like you're a person in modern world, but the character is, I say you because you're reading from the point of view. But it's just so cool, and the reason I'm so excited about it is because if you've seen Hannibal, the showrunners for that are doing American Gods for Showtime.
Okay.
So I'm really looking forward to that. If you haven't seen Hannibal, they do really check that out. But they nail like some of the visuals they have done have been stunning and horrifying in the same breath.
Yeah.
Like there's a man plays cello on a guy's open throat like vocal cords, like, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But
it's really not. Yeah.
These are the same people tackling the visual effects for this show. So there's a part in the book where like you're seeing two aspects of the god at the same time. You're seeing their mortal flesh, and then you're seeing like the arms of Shiva, kind of like at the same time. And I'm so excited to see how they portray all this. It's a really good book. If you like Neil Gaiman, you'll love this book, and you'll love the book that comes after it, Nasty Boys.
Okay.
Brian Fuller is the showrunner.
Right. Okay. So there you go, guys. There's a lot of recommendations from Tom on how to study up on folklore and mythology, and hopefully a few recommendations on folklore movies that you may not have seen or may want to revisit. As we wrap up now, I just want to say again, if you did like this episode, or do like this podcast, if you've watched more than one episode, please like and share them. You know, it helps grow a viewer base, not fan base, because not fans, but still. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want. You'll be the first to know of any new episodes or any new videos that may be on here. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at HorrorHousePod. You can follow me at the Purple Dawn, or you can go to thepurpledon.com, the home of all my weird stuff. Tom, any plugs?
Yeah, you can tweet at us, or you can find us on Facebook, because they both have that @ function, so you can look for @OddShapedPanel. We're always looking for people to talk about new topics. Upcoming, we have our Women of Pop Culture episode. So we have some questions already sent to us. I'm sure we'll have them picked out by the time this airs. But please come by, talk to us. We're going to be posting links on Twitter, so that's the easiest way you can contact us. Don't be afraid to direct message me. I'll answer any questions you have if you want to get involved and talk about whatever we're talking about. New topic every 2 weeks right now. And we're also tying in a Ladies of TUFF box, which is a $70 giveaway prize. So we're excited for that. And all you have to do to enter is follow directions on our Twitter.
Okay, Tom. Thank you so much for coming on here, teaching me things about folklore, and talking and having a very interesting discussion about some folklore horror. I have loved having you on. And
Yeah, this was great.
I will have to get you both on at the same time someday.
For sure.
Both you
Maybe
and Kimber.
we'll
I
do
think that would be a good
TV
one. Yeah.
Because I didn't even talk about Supernatural, and Supernatural is one of the most shows when it comes to folklore.
Yeah, okay. That's the next episode.
A Vincent Price episode sometime.
A Vincent Price episode, Kimber, you're the first name that comes to mind.
Said the voice from the ethereal plane. This was great, though. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. You feel free to come back at any time. Feel free to ask, to come back at any point.
Well, we're just excited for you to come to New York to get the Screen Junkies tattoo. So.
Yeah, I'll find the money
and.
and
Just got back.
yeah. I will do that. I will do that. I'm terrified of needles, but I will do that just to please everyone. Everyone. Because it. Yeah.
Gentle.
Okay. Thank you again. Guys, we hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you, I'll see you in episode 8. Goodbye.